Pastor Clarence McClendon, who is 59 years old, has seen headlines before. However, the Christian community is in complete disbelief over what has just surfaced. His wife has now spoken out after years of hearsay, conjecture, and unresolved issues, proving the very things that many believed would never be revealed. Their marriage is not the only thing impacted by what she disclosed. It upends the foundation of trust in his congregation, his ministry, and the reputation of megachurch leadership in general. The most startling aspect is that this information might permanently alter how people perceive Pastor McClendon. Pastor Clarence McClendon has been a charismatic, powerful, and influential person in the church community for many years. He is well known in Christian circles for his sermons, music, and unquestionable ability to captivate an audience. But with influence often comes scrutiny, and over time, that criticism has only gotten more intense in the case of McClendon. Questions have been circulating behind the scenes. Speculations concerning the strains of running a megarch and raising a family, rumors regarding his personal life, and murmurs regarding difficulties in his marriage. These rumors stayed just that, rumors, for a very long time. Up until now, they were never completely verified or rejected. They lived in the shadows. Because Pastor McClendon's wife has finally spoken up after years of silence, and what she revealed has caused tremors through the Christian community. This goes beyond mere rumors. This affirmation compels us to examine more closely the price of leadership, the demands of church celebrity, and the human aspect of a man who many have exalted. We'll go into exactly what was said, its implications for Pastor McClendon's ministry, and why this incident has sparked a wider discussion about accountability, honesty, and transparency in the church. In today's video, we'll reveal information that many have attempted to conceal, analyze the responses from both church members and officials, and consider the potential implications of this discovery for McClendon's legacy going forward. And believe me, you won't be shocked by what you're going to hear. We're all forced to consider how much we actually know about the leaders we follow after this kind of disclosure. This is where things become really intriguing, so pay attention. In order to comprehend the significance of this revelation, we must first take a step back and examine Pastor Clarence McClendon's life and ministry. McClendon swiftly gained notoriety as a charismatic preacher, gospel musician, and spiritual leader due to his unquestionable gift for communication. He was already regarded as one of the most brilliant speakers of his generation by his late 20s. And his stirring sermons of faith, success, and spiritual awakening filled auditoriums. But the interest rose along with McClendon's ministry, and scrutiny follows attention. Through global conferences and television appearances, McClendon established himself as a well-known personality in both the church and the general public. Sunday morning services weren't the only aspect of his ministry. It was a worldwide platform and a brand. Curiosity about the guy behind the pulpit is inevitable when one has that much influence. And that's when the rumors began. For years, there were whispers about the strains in his home, the hardships his wife faced, and the damage ministry life was doing to their marriage. People questioned whether the stage-preserved image accurately represented the situation at home. Others murmured about differences of opinion, others conjectured about secrets, and others even asserted that some facts were being purposefully concealed to preserve the ministry's image. Rumors are nothing new in the realm of megachurches, of course. Well-known pastors are frequently the subject of rumors and conjecture. However, the rumors about McClendon never seemed to go away. They continued, coming back every few years, particularly when his ministry faced fresh difficulties. And yet through it all, both McClendon and his wife stayed silent, neither confirming nor rejecting what was being claimed. Because individuals fill in the blanks with their own assumptions when there is a lack of clarity. That stillness merely served to increase speculation. Was the marriage actually having problems? Did the rumors get out of hand? Or was the reality far more nuanced than anyone outside could have guessed? The fact that the quiet has been broken after decades of murmurs is what makes this moment so remarkable. Many have been shocked by his wife's latest revelation, which did more than just admit the existence of rumors, it substantiated them. However, it's critical to recognize the gravity of this situation before disclosing exactly what she said. Any personal epiphany has far-reaching ramifications for a pastor of McClendon's caliber, whose reputation and image are so closely linked to the success of his ministry. His marriage isn't the only issue. It concerns his followers' faith, the stability of his church, and the veracity of his message. This is where it becomes even more startling. His wife verified that it's more than just a personal difficulty. It draws attention to more serious problems with accountability, transparency, and the inner struggles that leaders go through. Keep reading, because we'll go over exactly what she disclosed, how it was received, and why so many people are now doubting their preconceived notions of Pastor Clarence McClendon. Pastor Clarence McClendon's wife had been a quiet strength for years, supporting him at events, sermons, and significant moments in his ministry. She was seen by many as the epitome of poise and elegance, the devoted First Lady's loyal companion. However, people who paid more attention frequently saw the strain on her face. It's the kind of quiet battle that only people in the spotlight really face. She bore the burden of persistent rumors behind closed doors. The congregation murmured about them. Discussions on the internet alluded to secrets. There were hints from former members that things weren't as ideal as they appeared. Despite everything, she hasn't spoken until now. She ultimately confronted the rumors head-on in a moment that astounded the church congregation. She didn't say anything vindictive or angry. They were emotional, thoughtful, and composed. She talked with a clarity that made denial impossible. She acknowledged that a lot of the rumors that had been circulating for years were accurate. This was not just a passing comment or an inadvertent slip of the tongue. It was deliberate. It was strong and straightforward. The life behind the pulpit was not as glamorous as it seemed, she said. Their relationship had suffered as a result of the rigors of running a large church. The frequent travel, the financial strains, and the demands of perfection. She talked about times when they felt lonely, when ministry seemed to take precedence over marriage, and when maintaining appearances was more important than facing their true difficulties. The information, however, became much more startling at this point. She did more than merely affirm their marital difficulties. She alluded to a pattern of conduct that seriously questioned the ministry's own transparency. She implied that the desire to uphold one's reputation drove some decisions, both personal and professional, rather than conviction. Those remarks were particularly painful for a group that had trusted McClendon's leadership. Her admission felt to many who listened like the curtain being pulled back on a world they were never supposed to see. The costly outfits, the polished sermons, and the captivating stage presence all felt different all of a sudden. What had once been respected now appeared to be a meticulously staged show, a mask that concealed the very human conflicts that took place behind the scenes. The way she talked about her own quiet was possibly the most tragic aspect. She said that she remained silent for years, in part due to loyalty, in part because she was afraid of criticism, and in part because she didn't want to jeopardize the ministry they had established together. But there's a price for silence, and living in the shadow of persistent rumors was that cost for her. She was doing more than simply relieving herself by verifying the facts. She was bringing to light the fact that no leader, no matter how revered or acclaimed, is immune to life's challenges. By doing this, she compelled the church to confront a challenging issue. How much do we actually know about the individuals we hold in high regard? This is where the explosiveness of this discovery increases. Her marriage wasn't the only aspect of the way she presented her confirmation. It highlighted a broader culture in the church where silence frequently serves to defend the institution rather than the people, and image frequently triumphs over honesty. And for that reason, a lot of people are wondering if this is a wake-up call for megachurch leaders worldwide, or if it is just about Pastor McClendon. However, this is just the beginning, because the events that followed her disclosure caused a storm that was even more severe. The tale went from shocking to completely explosive because of the responses from churchgoers, critics, and even other pastors. Word spread more quickly than wildfire after Pastor Clarence McClendon's wife spoke up. It was more than just a discreet comment made in a private place. Attention was required because it was a public revelation. And in a matter of hours, responses from all around the Christian world flooded social media channels. The church, which had previously been in awe of their preacher, was now experiencing emotional turmoil. It was heartbreak for some. Years of devotion, tithes, and faith had been invested in the ministry. The picture-perfect image they had been shown abruptly broke apart. Some members confessed that they weren't totally shocked, saying they had known something wasn't right for years, while others wrote on social media about feeling deceived and betrayed. Her disclosure was not viewed as a betrayal by everyone, though. Others viewed it as a moment of profound admiration for her bravery. They noted that her openness made her more relatable than ever before and commended her honesty for finally coming out against a system that frequently forces spouses to keep quiet. Her remarks, in a sense, brought the ministry to life in a way that was impossible for well-crafted sermons. Meanwhile, critics outside the church wasted no time weighing in. Those who had long criticized megachurch leaders for their hypocrisy exploited this incident to support their claims. The headlines started to go around. Commentary surged on blogs. Additionally, there was an increase in content on YouTube channels devoted to religious conflicts that analyzed every word she spoke. This was more than just McClendon for the naysayers. It was about his representation of the frequently unbridled authority of well-known pastors. However, other pastors and church leaders' responses were arguably the most fascinating. To safeguard their own reputations, several discreetly separated from McClendon and avoided any public association. Others stepped up to defend him, saying that even in times of failure, grace should be shown because no leader is flawless. Others argued that this was a much-needed wake-up call for the megarch system as a whole, pointing out that accountability and transparency had been absent for far too long. Some of McClendon's closest allies were frantically trying to minimize the damage behind the scenes. According to insiders, allegedly, press statements were written, damage control sessions were conducted, and conversations regarding the ministry's future started to take shape. Would he temporarily resign? Would he apologize in public? Or would he put forth even more effort and attempt to weather the storm? The timing was what further complicated the aftermath. McClendon was 59 years old and in a phase of life where leaving a legacy is more important than ever. Each and every phrase, each action, each disclosure would either solidify or destroy his reputation. Furthermore, many people believed that his wife's remarks had already changed the course of events. A few churchgoers started posing challenging queries. Should they keep providing financial support to the ministry? Could they believe the integrity preaching sermons when the reality at home contradicted them? The most important question of all is perhaps this: if one of the most well-known and esteemed leaders in the Christian world could succumb to these difficulties, what did that say about the megarch leadership system as a whole? This is where the consequences become much more severe. The rumors that other prominent pastors, such as Bishop T.D. Jakes, Geno Jennings, and others, might be privately dealing with comparable difficulties started to spread. Some conjectured that the confession made by McClendon's wife may encourage more spouses or insiders to come forward, leading to a flood of revelations throughout the church community. Is this the beginning of anything more significant in American Christianity? Keep reading, because we'll go into more detail in the following part about how this discovery relates to the larger problems with the megarch system and why some people think this is only the start of a much larger tale. The wife of Pastor Clarence McClendon revealed something that went beyond their marriage. The megarch system itself was reflected in it. We must examine megarch culture and how it frequently puts leaders and their families in very difficult situations in order to comprehend why her remarks were so powerful. Personality-driven leadership has been linked to the megarch's growth for decades. The message isn't the only reason people go to these churches. The leader is their target. The movement, the brand, and the ministry are all represented by the pastor. Along with that comes a great deal of strain in addition to influence. Every move is exaggerated, every word is examined, and every private hardship is turned into a possible news story. McClendon became a star due to his talent and charisma. But being famous in the church has its drawbacks. On the one hand, it brings in millions of dollars, thousands of visitors, and international recognition. Conversely, it establishes an ideal of holiness and perfection that few people can ever achieve. Everything appears shiny behind the pulpit. However, the reality is frequently much more nuanced behind the scenes. His wife's confirmation of the rumors struck a deep chord because of this. Their marriage wasn't the only issue. It dealt with the unsaid reality that many megachurch leaders find difficult to conceal. The conflict between private reality and public ministry. There are restless nights with every happy family portrait. There are silent misgivings for every blazing sermon. There may be concealed cracks beneath every picture of oneness. And McClendon is hardly the only one. We have witnessed similar stories unfold time and time again. The megarch world has been embroiled in crisis after controversy, ranging from moral failings to financial scams. But the pattern keeps coming up. The leader exudes power. The truth is only revealed when it can no longer be kept a secret by the family. The fact that McClendon's wife's remarks weren't spoken by a critic or an outsider is what makes them so revolutionary. They were from his nearest and dearest, someone who experienced reality on a daily basis. She also broke through the facade of perfection that many churches strive so hard to uphold by speaking out. Here's the crucial query though, what implications does this have for megachurch's future? Some think this might lead to a much-needed change in the direction of accountability and openness. Leaders might no longer be able to conceal themselves behind well-preserved photos if congregations start to demand honesty. Members might start to inquire more deeply about their lives, their finances, and the systems they work in addition to their pastor's teachings. Others are concerned that such incidents may cause disenchantment. Such insights might drive people to completely abandon the church when they put their trust in leaders rather than in God. Scandals like this just serve to increase the skepticism that younger people already have toward institutional religion. The rippling effect comes next. Other leaders might feel under increasing pressure to face their own hidden challenges as more of these stories are made public. Prominent pastors like John Gray, and even those close to Bishop T.D. Jake, have already been the subject of harsh scrutiny about their personal lives. Is McClendon's wife's audacity the start of a domino effect? One that brings attention to the megarch leadership system as a whole? There is no denying that her disclosure has sparked an unavoidable discussion. It compels us to make difficult inquiries. Concerns about how much we revere pastors, what we demand from them, and whether the church has prioritized appearance over genuineness. This is where the narrative becomes even more fascinating. There are already hints from certain sources that there are others who are prepared to speak up besides McClendon's wife. Her bravery may inspire others in like roles, wives, family members, and even employees of these megarches to finally share their own tales. Should that occur, the church community may be confronted with one of the most significant waves of transparency in its history. But let's return to Clarence McClendon himself before we get ahead of ourselves. Because even though his wife's remarks have changed the course of events, everyone is now curious about his reaction. Will he defend his reputation? Or will he lead with vulnerability and welcome this moment of truth?